Welcome in to Thunder Live postgame presented by Toyota. Let's go places. What do you get when the two top teams in the Western Conference go head-to-head? You get a game that goes down to the wire, and that's exactly what we had in this game inside of this building. Down the stretch, ultimately 16 ties between these two teams, just trading buckets back and forth. It was truly a tug of war here in the final stretch. Both teams making big plays, a lot of competitiveness out there on the floor, everybody getting after it. And that's what you want to see. That's what you expect when these two teams go head-to-head. Diving on the floor for the ball. Ultimately, it was the Houston Rockets walking away with a three-point victory here tonight. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with a chance down the stretch to tie it up. But Houston, just a little too much. The final heave here by Jalen Williams falls a little bit short, and the Thunder ultimately goes 3-1 on their four-game Western Conference road trip. As we welcome you back inside Toyota Center and into Thunder Live, I'm Paris Lawson, sitting next to the Thunder's very own Royce Young. And Royce, what a battle it was. That's kind of what you expect when these two teams go after it, but two defensive teams, really good defensive teams, and it came down to the wire.
Yeah, it was one of those games as we watched through some of those plays, Paris, that, I mean, you know, it just kind of tilted one way there. You know, Fred VanVleet's heave right there at the end of the shot clock. Dylan Brooks on that loose ball scramble comes up with it and just barely beats the shot clock again. So just a few things that, you know, and then they win the jump ball on that after that kind of tangle up between SGA and Dylan Brooks. So, you know, it's one of those games when you get two good teams that are highly competitive like this, really defensive minded, used to winning gritty games in this way, you know, you can expect it's going to come down to that. And, you know, again, just a couple bounces go the Rockets' way. They played great. They earned it. But, you know, a few of those maybe wild shots don't go in, and maybe OKC's pulling this one out.
And how about the physicality of this game? We knew it was going to be physical. Houston with a lot of physical guys. Alperen Sengun. You've got Fred VanVleet, a very physical guard as well. And the Thunder rising to that challenge tonight, playing with a lot of force on both ends.
Yeah, I love the way that the Thunder competed throughout this one. Again, end of a four-game road trip, and, you know, they've played three other games that were very similar to this, where they really had to dig their heels in and battle through a lot of physicality throughout the game. But, you know, the Thunder did a great job of answering the bell. I love the tie-up between SGA and Dylan Brooks, too.
So good.
Teammates on the Canadian national team. Those guys know each other well. Dylan Brooks is known to be a guy that finds himself in those situations a lot. And I love SGA was like, no, I'm not letting go either. So, you know, you love that. And then I love that the officials also just said, nothing there. Two guys tangled up. It was competitive, all clean. Let's play on. No double text or no nothing. I love the way that was handled.
Yeah, both of those guys fueled by competition. You could tell they were really, really loving that. All right, let's bring in Chris Fisher and Michael Cage, who are on the call tonight for all the action. Guys, what'd you see?
Yeah, thank you, Paris. First and foremost, this was just a great game by two really good teams, two teams that were hungry for a victory. And OKC fights till the end, and the Houston Rockets pulling out this victory, Michael. But you look at the second half and the way that this game unfolded, so similar to the Golden State game and the Lakers game. The Thunder are used to winning these games, especially when it gets tight like that. They've been so good in clutch games down the stretch going back to last year. But you got to give the Rockets a little bit of credit with Dylan Brooks, the go-ahead shot, and Houston ultimately pulling it out.
Well, you know, there was a couple of concerns I had coming into tonight's game. First of all, you got to keep the Rockets off the glass. The Rockets were only +5 on the glass tonight, so good job there. Other thing, you had to keep them out of transition. The Rockets had 15 transition points. The Thunder had 13. And then the rest is, you know what, the chance. You know, you just find a way to put yourself in a position to win this ball game. You did that. You did everything right. You got 30 assists. I mean, that's a magical number. You even shoot a better percentage from the field than the Rockets. The Thunder shot 43% from the field. The Rockets shot 41. So no oil painting of a game from that way. It just seems like when the game hit the fourth quarter, it just became almost like hand-to-hand combat, a slugfest, the game, a lot of reviews, and it was just possession by possession. It went back and forth, and I thought really, you know, not only what Royce was talking about with the shot by Dylan Brooks, but I thought that 40-foot desperation shot that time that came at the end of the shot clock, three-point it was by Fred VanVleet, was really a big Hail Mary that kind of swung the momentum in the Rockets' favor.
Yeah, that tied the game at 113. Mark Daigneault talks about teams sort of defending Oklahoma City and learning things in November and December. This Houston team's the second best defensive team in the NBA. There's plenty to take for Oklahoma City going forward and how they were defended so that they can put that in their back pocket, file it away going forward.
Yeah, it definitely helps when you're able to see the pictures like the Thunder able to see here tonight. All right, Chris and Mike, thank you so much. We'll see you a little bit later in the show. And I like what they talked about. A lot of grit, a lot of competitiveness, a lot of hustle in this game, as to be expected. But Royce, as you mentioned, it was a long road trip. And every single game on this trip was so tough. This one had a little bit of a different flavor given how physical Houston was. But the Thunder able to keep this game within arm's reach.
Yeah, and the Thunder were able to build a little bit of a lead there towards the end of the third quarter. Really great explosive run there. But, the Rockets, as you can expect, were able to come back. Jabari Smith hit a few big shots there. But, one thing Mike Cage mentioned that I thought was really good was after Van Vliet hit that three, Cason Wallace with the big response.
Yes.
That's when Van Vliet knocks this thing down right there. That was a big-time shot. And then on an offensive rebound in himself, Cason Wallace answered it. I thought that was just a really resilient shot there by Cason Wallace to knock that one down.
What's incredible about this fourth quarter is just the tug of war. This is the play we were talking about. This is just how competitive this game was. Both of these teams just feed off of this energy. Nothing unsportsmanlike here. Just two competitive guys getting after it and living for the competition. And that's kind of the energy the entire game had.
Yeah, you can see a lot of guys are smiling right there. They love it. These guys are competitive dudes. This was just a monster play right here. Just again, a little bit of a scramble, ball loose in the lane. I think Sengun might have laid there for 7 seconds, but I wasn't counting. But, and then SGA has a decent look. Can't knock it down. We've seen him make that shot so many different times. Right before this, J-Dub had hit a big three out of the timeout to give the Thunder a chance with the heave right there. But, again, really good competitive game, and one of those that, you can't really react too much of one way. It was just a good game that the Rockets made a couple critical shots there. Big difference, though, was the free throw line.
Right.
Rockets with a plus 11 in terms of makes, plus 14 overall on attempts.
Overall, 64 free throws shot in this game. And Royce, it kind of felt like all of them were in the fourth quarter. The game had a little bit of a rhythm to it in the first 3 quarters of this game. We got to the fourth quarter, all rhythm and momentum felt like it went out the window with the amount of stoppages and, of course, the trips to the free throw line.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes to maintain rhythm throughout that, but, I think the free throws are probably a little bit of a reflection of the physicality and mentality of these two very defensive-oriented teams. And, yeah, the game did kind of get a little bit, tough to kind of deal with, and it's hard to kind of maintain your rhythm throughout a lot of that when, you're feeling those fouls. The Rockets got in the bonus early. The Thunder, there was one moment in the third quarter where it was like the Rockets were in the bonus real early, and then SGA drew 3 quick fouls on the Rockets to get the Thunder in the bonus. So it was a well-played game by both teams.
And you have to give a lot of credit to Houston. We knew coming into this game they were a really good defensive team. Ime Udoka, obviously, a really strong coach, throwing a lot of different schemes out there. And that's what the Thunder saw in the first half of that game. A lot of different looks defensively. But their ability to adjust, especially in that third quarter, Royce, was huge.
Yeah, and the Thunder were able to get a few stops and get out in transition and not let the Rockets set those defenses. But like you said, Paris, Ime Udoka is a very good defensive coach. This Rockets team was really the first team that threw the cross-matching at the Thunder last year early in the season. And it was a new look for the Thunder that OKC came here in Houston, struggled with that. And so, again, that's kind of the advantage of this. Udoka's got good schemes, and this is the Thunder getting an opportunity to get a look at it, make some adjustments as they go along. Because, look, Thunder are a very hard offensive team to stop. So it takes a little bit of a unique scheme to slow OKC down, and that's what they saw tonight.
It's a really high compliment of your offense when teams have to throw the kitchen sink at you. So the Thunder getting a good taste of a lot of different looks defensively. All right, let's send things over to the press room now and hear from Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault postgame.
Hotly contested game, great energy from both teams. Did you notice anything that maybe made the difference in the game, or just a couple plays not going your way?
Really high-level game, first of all. I thought both teams really competed, very physical game, and both teams played really hard. I thought they threw the first punch physically, and we responded really well in the first half at a time where the game could have gotten away from us, and we got control of the game for much of it. So a lot we can learn from playing in a game like that. So we got to learn from it, grow through it. But I think the trip in totality, we're a better team right now than we were 8 days ago when we took off for this trip. We went through a lot of different experiences that we can grow from some of the wins to tonight.
You talked about Cason just globally, bigger picture, being a significantly better player than last year. The rebounding tonight, just the margin plays to go with some of the shot making that we'd seen before. What'd you make of this game?
Yeah, I mean, really, this whole trip, he was really high level, from the defense in these games to physicality plays. And his shooting, this season has not been great yet. And I just thought our whole team on this trip on a kind of a rough shooting trip, we showed great resilience to continue to shoot the good ones. He made a huge shot tonight that if we won the game, that would have been one of the shots of the night. And, Mitchell the other night in L.A. was 1 for 8 against Golden State. He hit that one in the corner. Isaiah Joe was 0 for 6. He hits the one late in the game there. Dort has been in a little bit of a slump, dealing with his finger, and then he hits 4 of them the other night against LA. So I just think the mental toughness of the team was on display. Kaysen, is in that category.
The not the final possession, but the possession where you guys are down and 22 seconds goes off. It's easy to second guess that after the fact, but what's the philosophy there with trying to get the steal and or going for the foul with the shot clock and game clock so close together?
Yeah, in an ideal world, we would have liked to foul earlier. Thought we had a couple opportunities to do it, but those are tough ones because the guys are kind of on their own in that situation because we're coming out of a timeout. We're down by 2. We're drawing up a play. If we score, we're not fouling. And if there's a differential, we're not fouling. And the reason you call timeout there is to try to create a differential. So it's not like in the huddle we're talking about the case of if we're down 2 and there's no differential. So you got to kind of do it on the fly. And these are the types of experiences we've handled really, really well over time. That one we can learn a little bit from. But, yeah, I'll take that one. But we weren't trying to run off that much time.
This game feel like something extra to it? Does it feel like to a little bit of a playoff atmosphere a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's 1 of 82. They all are. But it was a heightened game. I thought the crowd did a nice job. And like I said, the physicality and how hard both teams played and sustained a level of hard play throughout the game. That was 48 minutes of, very, very hard playing basketball. And so that's a great game, for both teams to be a part of, certainly for us to be a part of. We would have liked to win. But like I said, we've gotten some really great experiences over the last 8 days, and I think we're a better team because of it.
Coach, what's your assessment on Isaiah through his first 5 games?
Hartenstein?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good again tonight. He brings a certain layer to our team that is very impactful and that we haven't had. And so the point of attack defense, the pick and roll defense, the rim defense, the defensive rebounding, not only his rebounds, but his blockouts, keep the other guys off the glass and allow guards to clean things up. And then offensively, he's dynamic as a 5-man, great screen setter, great pocket player, great finisher, great offensive rebounder. So checks a ton of boxes. He's a great player, but a player that, can gain more chemistry with our team and that can improve some of his fundamentals. I mean, he's not a finished product, and he's somebody that's got runway to improve. He's still a young player. I think he's 26 or 27. And so we're obviously really excited about him, but he's gotten off to a great start.
What do you think he was able to kind of do defensively against Shangun?
Hartenstein? Yeah, I mean, similar to the whole week with Sabonis and with Davis, he gives you kind of a single coverage option, whereas in the past, those are players that we would typically create a pretty heavy crowd and create a lot of pressure, which can uptick your turnovers, obviously, but also put you in a lot of rotation and get you scrambled on the glass. And so both have trade-offs, but we have the option to single cover them, and we did for most of the night tonight with him.
We're at the 20-game mark now. What stands out to you about your team at this point?
I think it's a good block of games. I think we're better now than we were at the beginning of the season. Through some of the experiences we've had, we have a lot we can improve on both ends of the floor. But I think the guys have brought the type of professionalism and consistency and spirit that allows you to grow through an 82-game season, and they've always done that, but they have started off this season in that way as well.
Anybody else?
Yeah, you can always count for Coach Daigneault to have a very clear-eyed analysis of where this team is and to take kind of a cumulative view of how this group has performed. And, you fall to the Rockets here tonight in a really tough game, but he points out this team, this Thunder team, is a better team now than they were 8 days ago before they set out on this road trip. And I think it's certainly true looking back on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the really hard things after a tough, physical, emotional game like that to try to detach yourself a little bit, zoom out, take a bigger look picture at it. It's 1 of 82. But, you know, I love what another thing Coach Mark talked about. It, you know, we talk so often about growing and learning through experiences. And he pointed out the whole clock management situation right there. And, you know, that was something that was a little unexpected with the way it played out with SGA's shot coming basically tied up with exactly the differential on the clock. That wasn't something exactly they talked about. So there was a little bit of a scramble there. But, you know, like Coach Mark said, he'll own that. And the fact that that's something he himself and the group can now learn from going forward. So, you know, you hear all the time about learning through experiences. That's exactly that sort of thing where that's kind of a new situation that now they can put in their pocket and learn from that one as well.
Everybody is learning, growing, and improving through an 82-game season, leaving no experiences to waste. And that's exactly what we had here tonight inside of Toyota Center. All right, stick with us here on Thunder Live, because when we come back, we're talking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. How about 4 straight games with 30 or more points? Thunder Live on FanDuel Sports Network is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. Thunder Live on FanDuel Sports Network is brought to you by your Oklahoma Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Oklahoma. Downtown Houston, our final score here inside of Toyota Center, 119-116. What a battle it was. Time now to take a look at our Ford Player of the Game, and this goes to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Put up 32 points in this game, and for those keeping track at home, yes, that is 4 straight games where Shai has had 32 or more points.
Yeah, Shai, he's getting back into that consistent vibe that he was in all last season, really the last 2 seasons, Paris, where he just so consistently does it, but he does it so much without ever really pressing the issue, keeping his teammates involved. And tonight, you know, the Rockets were throwing so many different looks at him. Dillon Brooks basically from tip-off was right in his face trying to guard him 94 feet. And SGA, you just love the composure and the poise that he plays with throughout the game, just to continue to not get rattled, not get fazed by it, just continue to do his thing, continue to drive, create good shots for himself and others.
32 points on 10 of 19 shooting. And Royce, what always gets me is the fact that, you know, Houston got a scouting report, and the very first person on that scouting report, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You know that he is the top line of every scouting report. You know they're scheming to try to take everything away from him, and yet he still finds a way to be effective.
He just solves problems so often, and really, if you really zero in and watch some of these possessions where you can see that, you know, the Rockets or whoever is gap scheming, SGA, meaning that they've got that kind of extra body. They're basically playing like a hybrid zone there to try to keep him out of the paint, and you know they're trying to dig on him and get back to shooters, and just watching SGA solve that. There was a couple times where, you know, on a pick and roll he decided to split it when he normally doesn't. So it's like SGA is always kind of reading and reacting really quickly. I mean, that his processing power, I think, is one of his unique superpowers, honestly, the way that he can see the game right as it's happening just faster than most people do.
You know, we see him, he's very calm, he's very poised and composed out there on the floor, despite the fact that a lot of chaos is being thrown at him every single possession, and I think that's just him playing at his own pace no matter what, never gets rattled or sped up.
That's a great point, because, you know, that was even something that was talked about with SGA back when he was even at Kentucky, especially his rookie year in the NBA, is that he plays his own tempo. I think it's one of the most underrated skills that he has, is that you can't speed him up. A lot of times when you get a guy like Dillon Brooks on you, naturally you want to speed up a little bit. When that guy's on your hip, basically the moment that you get the ball taken out of bounds, it makes you want to speed up. But SGA just doesn't fall for that. Continues to do his thing, and then he puts on his array of moves to unlock a defense, and then again he just so often makes the right choice, whether it's shoot or pass or go to the rim, whatever it is. SGA is always reading and reacting the game just about as good as anybody in the league.
Finished with 32 points. He also dished out 5 assists tonight, and this is part of a bigger theme for OKC throughout this game. They finished with 30 assists in this game, and Royce, the blender offensively was so important for OKC going up against that Houston defense.
Yeah, Thunder did a great job of finding those advantages and continuing to play those advantages. We saw the lob to Hartenstein there. It was one of the first plays of the game. You know, and that's an area that the Thunder are starting to connect on more and more as they get used to playing with Hartenstein, but it generated a lot of good looks on the perimeter. Again, Hartenstein is so good at finding these cutters. You know, that's another thing that I think we're seeing more and more of, is these guards cutting from different angles as Hartenstein has the ball, because they understand that he's going to find him. He's got the size to pass over people. I love the hustle there, kick taken out ahead for a transition opportunity. But yeah, that Thunder, that we call it the blender. That's what they do so well, is when they can create that advantage and then maintain it into finding not just a good shot a lot of times, but a great shot.
A lot of selfless players out there on the floor, and it generates great shots like you mentioned, and that's what we saw here tonight. All right, stick with us, because the Thunder, now they're heading back home after 4 games on the road, and when they get home, they welcome in the Utah Jazz in their final Emirates NBA Cup group play game. We'll get you all squared away for that matchup after this. Thunder Live on FanDuel Sports Network is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. The Thunder falling shy to the Houston Rockets here, 119-116 inside Toyota Center. And what a road trip this has been for OKC all through the Western Conference. And here's a little bit of a recap. Started out in Sacramento, won that game decidedly by 21 points, then went out to the Bay Area, took on the Warriors, a very gritty, gutsy win, winning by 4. Similar story in LA, taking on the Lakers, a very strong late game effort, a gritty, low scoring effort, walked away with a tough victory. And then here against the Houston Rockets, it seems like deja vu, but another gritty, low scoring game. The Thunder falling just shy in this game, but now they have to turn the page, and guess what? They get a chance to go back home after spending 8 days on the road. They go home, and they're gonna face a Utah Jazz team who was part of the Emirates group play for the Oklahoma City Thunder in West Group B, so it's going to have a little bit of an extra feel to it, but the Utah Jazz, a team that's been struggling so far this season.
Yeah, young team that's kind of trying to find their way, but, I was just looking at the scores tonight. They're in a 3-point game with 40 seconds left against the Lakers. So, the Utah Jazz are that type of team that often, the record has not been very good. They're young, they're rebuilding themselves, but they do have some talent. They're coached by a good young coach in Will Hardy. You can be sure that he's going to have them ready to play hard. And, with it being the fact that it's a cup game, there's that added layer to it. But also, this is an opportunity for the Jazz to come to Oklahoma City and play the Western Conference's best team. You can be sure that they're going to want to try to prove something in that type of game.
And you got 5 players on that Jazz roster averaging 15 or more points, so a lot to look out for. That game tips off at 7 p.m., but be sure to tune in to Thunder Live 30 minutes earlier at 6:30, and we'll get you all squared away for that matchup on Tuesday in Oklahoma City. And we talked about it. It's an Emirates NBA Cup game. It is the final game of group play. The Thunder currently 2-1 in their group play, so a chance to advance, and certainly brings a little different extra element to that game, Royce.
I'm also excited just to know what the schedule looks like, too. We were just looking at it, Paris.
I would love to know where we're going to be next week.
You don't know who the Thunder are going to play in a week, which is kind of bizarre. You don't know where you're going, but yeah, you can look here at the Western Conference. It's tight in the Thunder's group right now, and of course with the game against the Jazz, I think the Thunder still need a little bit of help there to win their group, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
So if the Thunder don't advance out of West Group B, they still have a chance to advance given how the wild card standings work out. That's the far right corner over there. The Thunder currently in 3rd place for that wild card. And so, Royce, as you look ahead to that game on Tuesday, you're back in Oklahoma City. You're going to have a really fun court to play on. You're going up against a Utah team that we mentioned isn't having the strongest season, but a lot of young, hungry guys that you have to look out for. What's key for OKC?
And also just coming off this road trip, you're going to have your home crowd again, and I'm sure the Paycom Center is going to be fired up to see their guys all over again. But one of I think the big challenges there is that you can start thinking about the cup, and you can think about the point differential element, and you've got to guard against letting your guard down and just looking at your opponent's record and saying, all right, well, we need to win this one by a lot, and make sure you can't do that. You just got to come out and you got to play your game. And if you do that sort of thing, the Thunder's game is really, really good when they tee it up. So you just got to do that sort of thing and let the game play out how it is. And if the scoreboard has a nice margin on it, then that's wonderful.
That's great.
If not, then don't sweat it. You just got to play the game in front of you.
Just all about playing Thunder basketball and putting together a full 48-minute performance. That's what this group has always been about. That's what they are about throughout this entire road trip. And what a fun road trip it was, action-packed. The Thunder going 3-1 over this 4-game stint, falling to the Houston Rockets here tonight. That wraps us up here inside of Toyota Center. What a ball game we had. Incredible atmosphere. A game that went down to the wire between 2 of the top teams in the Western Conference. The Thunder falling just shy, but now get a chance to turn the page and welcome in the Utah Jazz back at home inside of Paycom Center. Thunder Live will get you going at 6:30, and game tips off at 7 p.m. Until then, have a great night. Thanks for tuning in.